You just install your QRadar CE, and hopefully your installation was as simple as the one I recorded in the video. The QRadar CE does not come with as very many parsers as the standard QRadar comes with. That's probably because the developers wanted to keep the ISO small and they limit the number of parsers in there. By the way, a parser in QRadar is called a DSM, a device support module. That's the lingo in it. But this list is actually, while the most popular are here, like Windows and Blue Code, etc., they are not there. Not all of them are there. So what if you want to have another one? We're going to be doing in this video is we're going to be adding a parser, a DSM for the Squid. We have a part of the pfSense installation that we have here at home. We are sending logs from Squid, and the Squid is not in this list. The procedure for installing that is right below here. And as you see, it calls for command lines. Okay, you need to issue these command lines and then do deploy changes. Now, how do you actually, where do you input those commands? Well, you have choices. The obvious choice is this one. You log in as root and put the SSH password, and you can issue commands in here. I wouldn't recommend you using this interface because nothing to do with CE. This is the virtualization tool that you're using. You don't have copy paste, you don't have scroll up and down, so it is kind of limited. I think it is best, you're better served by actually open a terminal command. And this is a Mac that I use, but in Windows is a command line. So you open a terminal and then you SSH into the QRadar box as root. Okay, so you put the IP address. In my case, is 172.16.60.10. You put that SSH password, and you are in. Now, the first instruction calls for mounting the ISO image. You do that by doing sudo for super user. You issue the command mount. Is in OPT, IBM, and notice that you can tab with the beginning of the characters in standard Linux, and if there are no conflicts in it, it will resolve completely and type the rest of it. And here is not that much of a help, but when it comes to the ISO image, you just put Q and tab and you get the whole name on it. And we're going to mount that as media CD-ROM. That's what the instructions call for. Media CD-ROM. Right? And it's mounted as read-only. That's good. And now we need to go there. So we do a change directory, media CD-ROM, and then in here you go to post, so P and tab, DSM, and here you are. And just to give you an idea of how, where are all the parsers that the standard QRadar has, here they are. So I'm scrolling up here to see there's a ton of protocols and parsers, so the list is actually pretty impressive, right? These are all parsers that are maintained by the folks at IBM. Now, you want to install the Squid one. If you want to look for whether a particular parser or DSM is in here, there are multiple ways of doing this, but one way is to do an ls for listing all and pipe that, and then you do grep, and then are looking for Squid. And this is capital sensitive. So you do like that, and then you see that search in that list, this parser is there. To install it, the instruction calls to do yum. That's y as in yes, install, and then we're going to do dsm dash squ, and then tab, and that does the rest, and hit enter. This is going to take about a minute or so. We're going to pause the video until that completes. So that is installed. Sometimes when you install a particular DSM, it requires a protocol, and the installer will tell you that, hey, you need to install this guy first, and you can actually follow and install that protocol, and then go back and install your parser. So we are done here, and now the instructions call for a deploy. So you go into admin, and you see that it's warning you. Say, hey, there's something that needs to be deployed. If you want to see the details, you see, oh yeah, precisely, we added that squid parser. So you do deploy changes. That's going to take a while. I'm going to pause the video until then, and then we're going to do the next step, which is restart the web server. So we did that part. The instruction calls now for going into admin tab, advanced, restart web server. Let's actually do that. So we click here, advance, restart web server. Says that it's going to interrupt collection. Let me pause the video until that completes. Because we restarted the web server, we need to log in again. Now, you want to start collecting logs, and you see your logs in this tab here that reads the log activity, and you see the flows here on this tab that is the network activity. Now, when you go in to look for your logs, most likely you will find that QRadar sends these messages that are all internal. They don't count for your limit on licenses, but you don't care about those, so you want to filter those. How you do that? Well, the easiest way is to, every time you want to look at any one of those messages or do anything in here, you need to click here on the pause button. And then the easiest way is to actually, well, I don't want any information message. So you click onto one, right click into it, and see filter on event is not. Notice that. And then from that point on, for this search, that will not show up. Let's say that you don't care about this API request that I have. These are actually something specific that happens on my system, but you can actually filter in here. Health metrics is another candidate to be filtered like that, right? And now if we go here on real time, or you can click play here, or go here and do real time, you see that the amount of messages that comes is much smaller, because you have all these three filters in here. By the way, you don't have to do this every time you go into the log activity tab. You can save this search. If you click here in this icon and you give this a name, I'm going to call this test. The important thing is to you can make this as the default if you want to. You can include it in your quick searches instead and have it there to pull it from here where it says quick searches. And you're going to make it the default, right? And then now every time that we click into the log activity, those filters will be automatically there, and you have a much quieter system. Let me actually open up the logs for Squid that we have installed in here to see what happened. So if I open a browser, I'm going to go with HTTP, not HTTPS message, but just HTTP, and open this test site, Altoro Mutual. Notice that I get a message here say, well, what is this? I don't know what this is all about, right? And even though QRadar has a parser ready for it, it needs to get very many messages, typically about 25 of those messages, to actually auto discover it and assign a parser, and you're good. If you do the same thing with the Microsoft logs, for example, that are included in QRadar, after a group of them has come from a particular log source, it will auto discover them, boom, assign the parser, and there's nothing you need to do. But I'm giving you here the things step by step so you know what to do. Actually, you can click here on pause and see the details of that particular message. Notice that there are few fields in here. We're going to fix that and add more fields later. And here's the actual payload. Okay, notice that the source IP is and the destination IP is the same, right? This is the proxy intercepting the messages here at home. So if we go back to the log activity, we click here on return to event list, and we keep playing, clicking into more of these sites, we're going to be getting, more of these messages. Probably have this still in stop. Yeah, you need to click here play to actually see all those messages. So if I'm going to be clicking in here, you see that. Let me actually log in here. Okay, Smith. So the system, that what is called traffic analysis in QRadar, needs to get several of these to be able to determine, okay, this is squid, I have a parser for it, I'm going to assign a log source, and we'll be done with it. So you can wait here until that actually happens. Typically it takes a while, and it works actually very well. But let's say that for any reason you don't send enough of those messages, or whatever it is the situation, you don't want to wait and you want to actually manually assign the log source. So I'm going to show it to you. Let me get this out of the way. I'm going to keep sending more logs in here. So you can actually assign a log source by going here into admin, and this I hope you will not be using for too long, because I'm going to show you in the next video a great place, the X4 Exchange, App Exchange, where you replace these log sources with a much modern app. This is what comes out of the box, and notice that it's telling you that it's going to be deprecated into the future. The way you add manually a log source, you click here on add, and it says log source name. I'm going to call this one squid. You can put a description if you want. You select here into the pull down of all the available, the possible list of parsers. This is the one that we want. Syslog is the protocol. The identifier is the source IP that we saw there. And you can leave this in by default, right? And you click here save. Now, if you assign this yourself manually, then you are going to have, and when you leave this interface, you see that it's asking you again for a deploy changes, because it wasn't automatically recognized. And I want to prepare you for those cases, so when you want to, for any reason, wants to do that manually. So let's actually go ahead and deploy changes again, pausing the video until that finishes. So that finished. Let's go back to the log activity tab, and actually we see that instead of being unknown, the messages are coming and are being nicely parsed. So we can click here in this message, and we see this come from Altoro Mutual, and we see the details, source IP. And again, there are a few fields in here. We're going to fix them once we go to the App Exchange and show you all the goodies that are in there in the next video.